We'll get started in a second or so. If you could mute your mics, that would be great. We'll probably have a little bit of time at the end for some questions where we could all kind of turn our cameras on and ask some questions away. This is going to be recorded as well, so just so you know, so if you're turning your camera on, know that you'll be recorded. We're going to archive this with the resources that will be shared today, so that people that weren't able to attend can participate. All right, we're gonna get started here. We have some lovely educators here today that are gonna throw some amazing ideas our way. I want to thank them all for participating first off. And we're kind of have some panelists from across the province, various age, grade levels, different projects they're going to talk to. One thing I'll say is if you have a question, just throw it in the chat and we'll have some time at the end to answer any questions. We might go a little bit over 4:30, but if you have to leave, it's totally understandable. Just check out when you need to. And again, the resources and everything, so you can just sit back and listen. We'll share all of this stuff so you can just kind of really get into the stories that we're going to share. So our first educator is Cassandra Dubois, who's coming to us from Our Lady Peace of Sir Wilfrid Laurier, a preschool teacher. And I am super excited to hear her story. So off to you, Cassandra. Thank you.
Thank you. So as Chris said, I teach a K-5 classroom in Laval. I've been teaching for 16 years, kindergarten, 10 of those years has been in kindergarten. I have a very hands-on learning centers, experiential, lots of movement, play-based approach to my classroom. I'm really not an outdoorsy person, so it's kind of funny that I'm out here talking about teaching outside because I like being inside where, you know, the temperature's controlled and there's no bugs and the sun doesn't bother me and there's shade inside. But about 2 years ago, I was approached to join a project to create lessons for K4, K5 outside, which was a little scary, but I thought it'd be a really fun challenge to try out, which is how I started this journey of doing more outdoors teaching. So I thought I would show you some of the lessons that I've done. In my slides, I have links to all the lessons as well, which will be shared with you, I believe, after this presentation, so you can access them if you want. And I'll just talk to you a little bit about my experience. So let me just share. Okay, so when it came to teaching outside, the first thing that I realized was, since it wasn't a natural process for me, I needed to start from the QEP and the curriculum, make myself learning goals, and work from there on what to teach and what my main objective was. So by going outside, it provided me with activities that actually allowed me to touch all the different levels of development that the children need to touch within one lesson, which I wasn't always able to do inside, but outside I'm always able to do it. My first thing that I did was start by taking lessons that I was doing inside and find a way to do it outside. So the one I have on the screen here, it's a color scavenger hunt that I always do every year. Prior to this year, I always did it inside the building. I would put colors around the school, use that as an opportunity to give the students a tour of the school. This year, I decided to take it outside. So they had lots of opportunities for running and climbing on things and, you know, using their eyes to search really far away. So they were working on their motor skills, on their visual spatial development. They were working together, finding pictures, showing each other, doing comparisons with the markers, as we can see this little girl here trying to see if it's the same color. And really overall, it was really fun for them just to run around to try to find the different pictures hidden in the yard. Another one that I also used to do inside that I moved to outside was leaf people. So I think most kindergarten teachers find a way to go outside, get some leaves in the fall, and have the children create leaf people. So in the past, I always went to get the leaves out myself. On the weekends and the evenings, I go near my house, collect leaves near trees, and bring them in the room, and then the children would play with it at that point to try to create something. this year I changed it up and had them go outside, search for the leaves themselves, and then create their people from that point. Again, it was better for them because they were doing all the work, not me. And, you know, it allowed them to work on their sensory play, again, fine and gross motor skills, teamwork, collaboration. They were working on their language, helping each other out. Hey, look, I found this really cool leaf over here. Oh, there's some over there. Come, I'll show you where to go. So it allowed me to do this lesson in a way that was a lot less work for me and actually a lot more fun for the children. And then another thing I realized was an outdoors lesson doesn't have to be outside from beginning to end. So another thing that I've done with my students, still in colors, looking at the beginning of the year, was working on making colors with mixing paints in a bag, you know, kind of taking our reds and our yellow, creating an orange. They got to have some sensory play with that. And then afterwards, just going outside with chalk and creating different pictures, directed drawings with chalks outside, still part of the same lesson, part inside, part outside. The children had a chance to show their learning, to experience different sensory perceptions as they were working, and really, it was really a lot of fun for them to do. So that was my first approach towards being outside. Then I realized that using different elements of nature really provided me with a chance for the students to show what they've learned in a way that's a whole lot more exciting than working with a worksheet in the classroom. So some of the things that I did for that was working on numbers, providing students with a number. We go outside, create that number using items from nature. So leaves, rocks, sticks, twigs, wood chips, whatever you find. And then I also had them sabotage that number, right? So if we have the number 3, well, we write the number, but then you can also show me that number by using 3 leaves or 3 rocks or 3 wood chips. You can do a little 10 frame with some chalk and show me 3 dots inside of it. You can do a tally mark with 3 lines with your chalk. So lots of options for them to show their knowledge base with numbers, but we're outside, we're getting lots of fresh air. Again, lots of movement, running, standing, crouching, some were working on their stomachs. So it was a fun way for them to work on numbers. Did something similar with emotions. So we talk a lot in the fall about different emotions, right, as part of our emotional development competencies. So I talked about what a happy face looks like, what a sad face looks like, all the different characteristics. And then we went outside and created them. Some of them was really fun to watch. Like a lot of them did happy faces, obviously it was the easiest one to do, but it was really nice to see some of them making like sadder faces, trying to make sure they had, you know, little sad eyes, and even this one with a scared looking face. They wanted to have a big angry mouth that was kind of screaming or scared or unsure of how to react. And they found a way to do it. So it was really a chance for them to show their creativity, again, with the fine and gross motor skills, with the running and using different sensory as they're touching different things. So that's it was a fun way for them to show their knowledge on emotions. And another one that I did outside was in the spring when we talked about bees. We learned all the different aspects of bees, right? How far they go from their hives, what they do with the pollen that they collect, they bring it back, and kind of talked about their experiences. And then they got to go outside and be bees. So it was very much a playful way for them to understand what bees go through, right? There's a certain distance that they were allowed to travel. There were little containers of yellow water spread across the yard within that distance. And then they had to work together to fill up their honeycombs, because that's what bees do, right? They do teamwork. So they had a chance to work together, working on their fine and gross motor skills, language development, to make it really fun and playful. They had to actually fully pretend to be bees. They had to buzz around as they were moving around the yard, which the kids absolutely loved. Again, I was able to touch on all the different competencies and really had a chance for them to work together on that. Kindergarten can be really messy sometimes. There are things that I really want to do in my classroom, but then sometimes I don't want to do because of the possible mess and how long it'll take to clean. Going outside really fixes all of those issues. So one activity I did with my students was using soapy water with food coloring, and they would blow bubbles in it. And I mean, the bowls explode, you know, it all falls out. And in the classroom, it would stress me out because it would stain my floor or my tables, and it would take forever to clean up. But going outside, I don't care if the ground gets dirty because it's outside. So the kids had a ton of fun again, using different parts of their motor developments, right, by using their mouths and blowing instead of sucking, which was really important for them to learn. Again, running from one container to the next to blow different colors of soapy waters. They were able to make these really cool colored rings on paper, which we then used to make a butterfly afterwards, which was really fun. And then the last thing that I realized with outside, which is really, really neat and easy to use, is all different kinds of scavenger hunts. So we've done a lot of different scavenger hunts at my school. The one on the screen right now is with bugs. Just hit a whole bunch of plastic bugs around the yard. Some of them were hard to find. The green bugs on green grass was not easy to find, but the kids worked really, really hard at finding it, running around, finding the bugs. And then when they found them, they had to come back and try to draw them. So we were able to bring in the art aspect of it, working together, all drawing on the same paper, creating some form of bug scene of all these bugs together. And another type of scavenger hunt that we've done was in terms of language development and math, right? Looking at positional language, hiding pictures around the schoolyard. In this case here, we have two different ones, a Halloween one with ghosts over here hiding around the yard, and then a holiday one with elves hiding around the yard, and the children had to go look for them, say if the object or the picture was hiding above or below. You know, were they at the top, were they at the bottom, and then on their paper they had to color, you know, it's at the bottom, it's at the top. So it allowed them to work on using that language appropriately and recognizing where those objects were in space. So those were some of the lessons that I did. As I said, I was part of a project and we came up with like a ton of amazing, amazing lessons. It was a really fantastic group of teachers. So the last thing I have here is I had just put a link to our Google Drive, which had all the lesson plans that we created, which is really, really great reference for K4, K5 teachers. So as I said before, I think Chris is going to be sharing this with everybody afterwards. Yep. So you're more than welcome to look through it. The lesson plans are all in there. You know, any materials that we could provide, and it's in there. So if you're interested, it's a good launching point for things to do outside in K4 and K5.
Great stuff, Cassandra. Really great ideas. I love the colors and the numeracy and the emotions and all those things that those little kids need to start to think about and develop. So thanks for sharing.
And just going outside, what I really found, it was such a great way to touch all 5 levels of their development, touching everything in a competency. Like when I was told last year I had to touch all 40 key features, I freaked out, I panicked, I was like, there's no way I can do this. But then by going outside, I'm hitting like 3/4 of them in one lesson, which was just phenomenal to realize that. So it does make a lot of things easier once you can wrap your mind around how to do it.
Right. That's a really good observation there. Really good observation. Well, thank you, Cassandra. I appreciate that. We're going to move on to our next panelist, to Sylvia Ozell. Again, we've had Sylvia at a few of our webinars. Always wonderful to hear from. Grade 1 teacher from Lester B. And she's going to talk about I Wonder Why.
Hey, bon après-midi. Welcome back, everyone. So c'est très inspirant la présentation de Cassandra, et ce qui m'est sauté aux yeux, c'est en fait qu'on n'a pas besoin d'avoir un endroit, une classe, c'est la cloche, une classe extérieure avec un abri pour sortir. On a juste besoin d'avoir le goût de prendre un risque et de sortir avec les enfants, et que de beaux sourires. Donc, je vous partage mon écran avec grand plaisir. Et voilà, donc on y va. Alors oui, je me suis demandé, I wonder why, je me demande. Donc, j'ai essayé pour cette présentation-ci d'aller un petit peu plus avec des apprentissages par l'enquête en nature, mais essayer de faire des apprentissages que je peux transposer au fil des moments de l'année scolaire, au fil des saisons. Donc, voilà, je commence. Donc, vous le savez, à Forest Hill Junior, j'en ai parlé plusieurs fois. Oui, on a des espaces de classe extérieure, mais we've got a really nice forest and we just behind the school and we can go whatever we want. So we have a forest that we can go for snowshoeing. C'est ce qu'on a fait ici. Donc, on a un petit sentier. Voilà. Et cette année, ben, je me suis inspirée grandement d'un livre qu'on appelle Curiosité naturelle, une belle ressource. Et j'ai essayé en fait, dans ma planification, si on peut dire, dans mes sorties à l'extérieur, d'avoir toujours en tête là, de me rapprocher de cette nature-là, d'amener les enfants à avoir une compréhension du monde qui les entoure et aussi de travailler sur tout ce qui est respect envers cette nature-là. Donc voilà. Et évidemment, ben, je commence toujours par une reconnaissance du territoire avec les enfants, peu importe là où je suis, c'est ma petite routine avec eux. Donc, vous pourrez aller voir, il y a un lien si ça vous intéresse. Et encore là, bien, justement, dans notre forêt, ben, on essaie d'être en harmonie. Puis je pense qu'avec cet apprentissage-là, ces apprentissages-là en nature, ben, on va de plus en plus trouver ou atteindre ces objectifs-là. Donc, après ça, souvent, je vais, avant de commencer ma petite promenade en forêt ou dans la nature, on commence souvent par du yoga. Cette année, je me suis, pour cette session-ci, là, en hiver, je me suis inspirée parce qu'on touchait beaucoup aux animaux. So, we're talking about les mammifères et tout. Fait que je suis allée chercher des poses de yoga qui sont reliées aux mammifères, aux animaux polaires. Donc, et ben ici, c'est un départ. Walking curriculum, on part, on observe, on écoute, we're listening to nature, we smell, we look the trees and the nature, and you can see the smile on their face. We're lucky we have snowshoes, so the kids, they're able to put them on by themselves. So, et je me sers de tout ce que je peux pour observer. Ça, je trouvais ça le fun. Les enfants adorent s'amuser et chercher là, des traces dans la nature avec ces petites loupes-là. Ça peut être aussi des cordes qu'on peut aller, des morceaux de ficelle qu'on peut aller déposer dans la neige. Mais l'idée de notre sortie, c'était justement de trouver des traces d'animaux. Donc, ici, ben c'est ça, les enfants s'arrêtent, regardent, observent, émettent des hypothèses, comparent aussi les empreintes, une empreinte avec une empreinte de soulier. On mesure, on fait des mathématiques parce que we can ask ourselves as a teacher how I can reach the goals of my curriculum. But when you go outside, it's really easy, like, you know, to reach all those goals. On fait des mathématiques, on fait des sciences et ce que j'aime surtout, le fait d'être en nature, ben, ça nous permet aussi d'aller atteindre ce qu'on appelle les 6 C's. Donc, les 6, justement, ces 6 compétences-là. Ça, c'est ce qu'on a observé. Donc, les enfants se sont arrêtés, se sont posés des questions. C'est ce qu'on avait dans la nature. On les a au bas de l'arbre. Est-ce que ça grimpe? Bon, pourquoi c'est parti dans une direction? Ça s'est s'en allé dans une autre direction. Donc, on prend le temps de s'arrêter. And we ask ourselves, I wonder why, what happened here, you know? So, et les enfants vont arriver avec plusieurs hypothèses qu'on va par la suite essayer de valider en discutant ensemble. Et là, ben, j'ai fait mes petites recherches au niveau des pistes. Ils ont leur petit référentiel. Ils ont, entre autres, ce qui est le fun, c'est celui-ci qui est assez bien fait, ce petit livre-là. qui est assez bien fait pour interpréter là, les empreintes d'animaux. Puis évidemment, ben, je peux leur demander, ils ont, they have a nature journal, so they can draw les pistes des animaux dans leur journal, revenir en classe, regarder. Quand Cassandra disait que oui, il y a des apprentissages qu'elle fait à l'intérieur et à l'extérieur, bien, c'est la même chose dans mon cas. Ben, ensuite, c'est ça, c'est que souvent, I will bring the technology with me outside. We're using Seesaw a lot. So the kids here, they just use the iPad to take picture and then they keep les empreintes ici. Après ça, on est allé revalider à l'intérieur pour arriver à dire oui, ici, on a le lapin, ici, on a le chien. Après ça, je peux leur demander, they can come dans le petit théâtre and explain what they saw, what they learned, and it could be a part of the oral expectation. Ensuite, c'est ça, donc ils sont habitués de se servir de Seesaw et c'est ce qui est magique parce qu'ils peuvent conserver justement des traces de leurs apprentissages tout au long de l'année. Ici encore, c'est... ah oui, puis on peut justement en art, on peut se servir aussi, aller faire justement, aller créer les propres empreintes de ce qu'on a vu, essayer de dire, bon, mais parfait, ici c'était le loup, le hérisson, le coyote, le lapin. Ensuite, ben, on travaille beaucoup en salle de classe en première année. Évidemment, c'est l'apprentissage de l'écriture, de la lecture. We're doing units of writing. And at this time of the school year, it's les textes informatifs. So right now, they saw les pistes d'animaux. We learn about rabbits. We learn about squirrels. And now they will write about those animals. And the purpose of that, they will do a little book and then they will do some sentences with QR code that we will put in the outdoor classroom in the forest. So the kids will be able to go and just scan le code QR et en apprendre un petit peu plus sur les animaux qui habitent dans la forêt. Donc, tout est interrelié. J'essaie aussi de faire justement des leçons that I can use during springtime, during fall time. Donc, ça, c'est vraiment le fait de travailler avec la faune et la flore. C'est vraiment très facile d'une saison à l'autre. Ici, on avait fait une carte sonore. On prend le temps de s'arrêter. On vient dessiner ce qu'on entend. Donc, les 5 senses, ils sont vraiment en effervescence. Ils sont là. Donc, on est à l'écoute. Ici, les enfants ont appris parce que je me suis donné comme objectif that I want them to know, I want them to be able to know by their name 10 oiseaux qui nous entourent. Donc, ici, c'est le jet bleu. On a comparé. Les enfants savent pourquoi le jet bleu a le bec de telle ou telle façon. Puis, on a travaillé avec ce site-là. C'est vraiment cool. Les enfants, ils adorent. So, they follow the guy on the smartboard. So, they follow the instruction and they just love it. So, ici, ils ont fait le cardinal. So, we can compare. We learn about the sounds, le son, le bruit, le chant des oiseaux. Ici, l'écureuil. On a fait aussi de la nourriture pour les oiseaux, des petites mangeoires. Donc, c'est très facile d'aller toucher nos différentes compétences, au niveau du curriculum. C'est facile d'aller trouver nos objectifs. Ici, bien, on a construit, ça c'est l'année dernière, on avait construit un nid parce qu'on avait travaillé sur les oiseaux. Donc, encore là, on fait appel au 6C. Puis évidemment, ben, on n'y voit que du bon parce que les enfants sont près de la nature, so they start to be really respectful about nature, about animals, and you know they will be able to have those skills for now and for the future. Et je termine en vous partageant, ou on peut peut-être le faire plus tard, Chris, les différents ateliers là, qui sont offerts via Take Me Outside. Et à ne pas manquer, il y a l'inscription à prendre à ciel ouvert. Donc, vous irez voir. Donc, voilà pour ma présentation.
Yep, Sylvie, on va partager tout ça à la fin.
Oui, c'est ça. Donc,
great
je veux
place
juste comme arrêter de partager. Voyons.
Well, thank you, Sylvie. This is really cool too, because your bird
oui.
thing, our next panelist is actually did a bird project. So
yeah.
Ça attache très bien ensemble.
Ben, c'est drôle parce qu'aujourd'hui, tout est interrelié hein, dans nos présentations.
Yeah.
Donc, so that's really cool.
Just happens like magic sometimes.
Yeah.
Merci, Sylvie. So our next panelist, so that was Sylvie. Our next panelist is Jayne Doddridge. She's actually a community member. And she is going to tell us about this project, this bird project that she did. I made a mistake in the email I sent out. She's not Eastern Shore, she's Central Quebec.
That's
Sorry
right.
about that.
No
Jayne,
worries.
And I will share my
picture number 1.
Yeah. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, wait, Michael was going to do it. Michael, you're going to share away? Here comes Jayne. So
thank you.
Thanks for.
So hi, everyone. I work at a small school in Valcartier, north of Quebec City, and I run a small nature club with a group of students from Cycle 2 and Cycle 3, so grade 3, 4, 5, 6. And this year we decided to do a specific project on birds at the request of a retired gentleman who had helped put together some bird feeders for the municipal walking path in Saint-Gabriel. Next picture, please. So we went hiking and invited 2 classes to come with us and fed some birds, learned about some bird calls, where they live. And we took our information, brought it back to school, assigned each student a specific bird. Next picture, please. And the students had to find out their size, their weight, what they ate, where they lived, and we put together information panels. So we requested a grant from Bird Protection Quebec and received the grant and put together information panels that were installed on the municipal walking path. Next picture, please. So with the help of some retired men in the community, we were able to put together these panels, install them properly on the walking path. So the students were able to help with the construction of the panels, the construction of the wooden structures, and the installation of these panels along the walking path. So each student was able to learn the different songs, the different colors. Our principal suggested that we put a QR code on the panel, so you can use your phone to find out more information about each of the species. Next picture, please. So my presentation won't be as long as everybody else's because it's very specific to one certain thing. But I think the students really enjoyed being able to learn about the different birds, realized how many different species we do have in this area, and to be a part of the whole process of putting together the posters, putting together the wooden panels on the walking path. We had a former student who supplied us with some pictures of the birds. Each of the students drew their own birds, and we had a parent design our panel. So last picture, please, or the second last picture. So this is a picture of our panels. They're 12 by 18 inches. They're bilingual, French and English, and they have basic information about each of the birds that we chose. There are 8, and they're all situated along the walking path in our community. So that's it for me.
Well, Jayne, thank you so much. What a project. I mean, it seems like the kids really got into it.
They did. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool. I love too how all community members started to come together a little bit. And
yes, we had a few. Yes.
Big project.
Yes,
Love
it was fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
I will share out the information on those panels, and it's a good time to go for a vacation up there and go on that pathway and check out all those gardens.
Certainly.
Thanks so much, Jane. That's a
Thank
beautiful
you.
project. Thank you. Okay, so moving along, we're actually now going to bump out to Gaspésie. We have Nadia Cyr, and we also have Patti-Ann Patterson from ESSB. And they're going to kind of walk us through a day in the life. I just met Nadia yesterday for the first time, and I'm so excited. So I'm going to stop talking, and I am going to let you guys
Hi, everyone.
talk.
My name is Nadia, and we have Patti-Ann with us today because we're working together. I'm also the music teacher in our school and the staff assistant. So with all my my responsibilities, I need an assistant, and Patty is there. So she is. We're kind of doing the same. We're following the same approach, I would say. We're good partners in that for sure. So this year we have 13 students. The presentation today will be about our class, our last group, which is last year, but we're still doing the same approach this year with our students. So it's kindergarten 4 years old that we have in Gaspé, which is at East. It's rural. Milieu Anglophone. We have about 120 students. Everything had started when I first went to the convention Apprendre à ciel ouvert. I think it was mentioned, that was 2 or 3 years ago. And I'm a pre-K teacher since 20 years now, preschool teachers. So I found it so cool, all the benefits that was mentioned at that conference, that I decided to start. I have a list of the benefits, but I'm not going to try to convince you today because I think that we're all like big believers. So the benefits are listed here, and I think that there's more. They're not all there. What I see with my students, I definitely have less discipline to do outdoor, and I'm sure that Patty is agree with me. If we compare the interactions inside and the interactions outdoors, and the limits that we have to set, I think that we have it's easier outdoors. That's how I feel about it. Patty, do you have anything to add about
I agree. And also I also found a big difference also working with young kids for many years. Their attention on a certain topic is more intrigued in the outdoor learning that we've been doing, which we bring mostly everything outside.
Mm-hmm. And I think that they're more creative also. They definitely go, like to my eyes, they go further. Like you bring an idea and they really, when they get into it, I think they go further. So I like it. La cour d'école comme lieu de départ. That's how I call this. So this is how I started. I decided to increase the recess time. This is how I started, because like 2 years ago, I was not too experiment about that. So I thought, okay, what can I do? What could be my first step? So I believe in the baby step philosophy there. So I decided to extend the recess. So instead of being outdoor for 20 minutes for a normal outdoor recess, I decided to stay longer. I decided to eat our snack outdoors. So I made these small experimentations, and I used the schoolyard. We have a milieu bois with trees, and this is how we had start. And here you see our outdoor classroom. It's a brand new, I would say, brand new area that we built in August last summer, but that wasn't there at the very beginning. But we realized that that would be nice to have a place where we could do the beginning of our group activities. So we really liked it. To be able to build that, yes, we filled a grant. We searched for money, and the school also put some money in it. But it's not like, I think it's Danielle who had said that. I'm not sure who said that. You don't really need to have it, but it's very useful. And I think that it's good for the older grades too. It's like we're trying to give an idea to other grades also to encourage the other classes. Yeah, and the other groups are using it too. So this is not just for us. we can continue. So here I have some element clés, like some important things that I'd like to share with you. I think that it's important to speak to the parents at the beginning of the year about what we're doing, what the approach is. It's also important to have the collaboration with the principals, because we know we need them to, sometimes we need them for money, but for transportation, for like, just for them to know what we're doing, to see that it's worth it, and what we're doing is connected to the program, as Cassandra said, and I think that we can do a lot outdoors. We do cover the curriculum, definitely, and the competencies. We know the environment for safety. What we do here, we often like talk to the students inside before going outdoors. So we explain to them what we're doing. The limits were set inside. We explained what was the limit of the schoolyard and where they're allowed to go, where they're not allowed to go. So we did it inside, and we do it inside first. Créer des liens avec les partenaires. We'll talk more about this later with the gardening project. And communicating with other teachers. We made connection at the convention at Prendre-Silver. Was nice to see other outdoor teachers too. The material. When I first started, and I think I'm going to let Patty talk about that, we really realized that kids were missing material, like clothing.
Well, yeah, it was huge. Like, you know, we wanted to go out and play in the puddles, explore the water, and we had no rubber boots, and we didn't have splash pants, we didn't have splash coats. So I believe Miss Nadia got that through grants also, the wetsuits. Each child has their own wetsuit that stays here at school. Size-wise, we played around with it a little bit. So we have a couple of different sizes for each child. Wintertime, summertime, fall, pretty much every year, those shovels come in use. There's enough, I believe, for every child. And then their backpacks. The backpack was a major thing. We'd be outside doing an activity and, oh, we don't have a pencil, or we didn't have this. So their backpack is pre-packed with a magnifying glass, shovel, bug catcher. I think we had a notepad and a pencil in there. And in the summer or warm months, their water bottle goes in there and a snack. So
and we have a mat, like a yoga mat that we're using.
Oh yes, and their yoga mat. We have the yoga mat also that's rolled up onto the side pouch. That yoga mat allows them to sit comfortably on the ground when we decide we're going to sit and learn or just take a break, because sometimes it's cold or wet. And we have our supply area located right at our exit door when we go outside, because again, often we would be outside and say, oh, what if we use this? And we didn't want to have to go searching. So we've made a shelf which has letters, it has extra magnifying glasses, it has buckets, it has rope,
Clipboards.
Clipboards, yes, the clipboards. We have the clipboards too with extra paper in there. If they want to draw, we often get them to take the clipboards to do letters and so forth. So that's all found right there. Did I cover everything?
It could be used by other classes too.
Yes, I think we covered everything on that.
Right. So I want to give you an overview of how the day looks like. So the daily schedule, we spend about 3 to 4 hours outside every day. What you see in green, it's done outdoors, and in white, we do it inside. So I do my circle time inside every morning. So I do the weather, the calendar, I welcome the kids inside. We eat our snack outdoors, except in winter time, because they have to take off their mitts and they get cold. So at this time of the year, we eat inside, but we did buy 4 tables with umbrellas that we keep outdoors all the time. So they do pack their little green Explorer bag and they bring their snack outdoors. We do our first block outdoors, like learning activities outdoors, depends on what we're doing. Then we also have a free play outdoors, and then we come back in for lunch. For learning activities, I want to share this approach. It's not a program, but I don't know if you know what it is. It's from Enfants Nature. It's an organisme à but non lucratif, and it's Québécois. I first learned about them, I think, at the Apprendre à ciel ouvert Congress. And now I'm in contact with Sylvie Gervais, who is the la créateur. I think she was a teacher at university. I'm not quite sure. So she built that approach. And each week we have an animal. And it goes by season also, and it comes with material, with the fiche didactic, with different ideas, the meditation. So it's really, I think, it's a nice complement to what we're doing. So I'm using this. So this is what we're doing during our first block outdoor. They have everything in there. They have motricity, motor activity skills. They have meditation. They have art also, and it all goes with one animal. So right now we're doing the mouse, I think, and next week the hare. So it's nice. It's well done, I would say. So it's called Enfant Nature. They have the material in French and in English, and they're giving trainings and information online training for teachers. In the afternoon, we do have a nap inside, but it could be done outdoors too. We're just not, I would say, not ready for that, but I've met other teachers who do have their little rest time outdoors. So it's feasible. So we do have our nap inside, then we do a group activity inside. We eat our snack inside or outdoors, depends on the weather. Then we leave for the community walk. So Miss Patty, you want to say some words about the community walk?
Well, we love our community walks. We try to do them every day if it allows us. We use our community for learning in all aspects. The kids, number one, have made contact with people in the community. So now, you know, they wave to them. The members of the community will wave to them and speak to them. They let them know what they're doing. So that's that nice little bond there. There's also a small town, lots of stuff to see. We use our walks for bird watching. We use them for finding letters. We go around. One example we did with this group, I believe, was our letters. We went downtown to Main Street and they had to find the letter of the week. And it was amazing to see they were picking the letters out in words I didn't even know were on some of the signs, and they were seeing it. Our community walk usually lasts we try about 45 minutes. It depends on the group. This group here was 45 minutes. Sometimes we could even be gone most of the afternoon. We'd stop and have a snack somewhere. They were enthusiastic about it. Our community walk, we've also taught the kids safety, crossing the streets. They know now the safety on the streets, when to stop, look for cars. We need to listen with our ears. So I think it's a great part of their learning throughout the day. And most of them, I'm going to say most of them, look forward to the walk in the afternoon and will ask. They will ask. If they don't see it on the chart, they'll say, oh, the walk's not there. So it's really been, yeah. Usually I'm the one who forgets usually.
And sometimes our walk brings us to the Magic Forest, which is at the end of the street here. Well, it's just a place, it's not like on our schoolyard limit there, but we do walk for about 30 minutes, then we get there. Well, it's a safe place. There's a climbing tree. Here you see on the picture that with a community member that we've met many times on the road. We did a project with her at Christmas time where she went to hide a little inukchuk, it's called an inukchuk, in a little jar. So we did a project with that woman that we've met, and she got involved in some projects with us. So that was, they find a letter from an elf, and yeah, it was a very nice project. So the next slide is all about how we plan.
1 more minute left.
Okay, perfect. The next slide is about how I plan the activities. And I think that Cassandra had mentioned something about that. Well, I'm trying to plan that way, bringing inside outdoor, so eating snack, reading a book. I'm trying also to plan activities about learning about nature, learning about birds, learning about animals. And the last one, learning through nature. So using items from nature, making letters with pine cones, using some items from nature. So learning outside, doing your indoor. So now you can just skip these slides. You're just going to see some pictures of what we're doing, different projects. Our special area, I did talk about it already. So we do a lot there. Now it's all covered with snow, but we're going to use it in spring. Those are the tables, picnic tables, where we eat and we make our art activities. And you can continue. We did a science project with the snowman in the snow. Oh, here you see a little boy who's just go up a little bit. We did a birds project and he was making a nest. So with mud, grass, that was a nice project here, all connected with the unit that we were doing. So learning through nature, there you see what we're doing, a little boy writing his name in the snow using pine cones with the clipboard. And the next one, voila. I think that flexibility is an important thing to consider. Time, giving us time, like being flexible, spending time outdoors, being confident, and baby steps. Because if you're not at ease, I mean, the kids will feel it. So just one thing at a time, one step at a time. Voila. And the next slide is it's some resources, I think. The gardening, yes, we do garden. And these are some books. I wrote the author for Enfant Nature. You can search online. She has a website. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Patty.
Thank you.
Thank you both. That was great. I'm sorry to have to keep it going here, but wow, wonderful ideas. Really excited. We'll have to have you guys come back and have more time to get the word out about it. I love that. 3 to 4 hours a day. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Love it. So thanks for sharing out all the way from our Eastern network out in Gaspésie. So we are coming to our last panelist, and you might be familiar with this face. We have Kelly Fahey, our upper elementary school teacher, but just a universal teacher, I would say. And she's going to talk to us about STEAM outside.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. And I want to say, wow, thank you so much to all of my colleagues who just spoke before me, laying all that foundation for taking the students outside. So today I'm going to be looking at something a little more specific relating to Cycle 3 and secondary learning. So to get started, I'm super passionate about the outdoors, and I'm a Cycle 3 teacher. And I've also taught upper level outdoor education as well. I'm very fortunate to live and teach in the Laurentian Mountains, and this really provides me an opportunity to take the students out and discover so many wonderful things in the outdoors. But you don't have to be living near a forest to have some wonderful experiences with the students. I think that your schoolyard is full of adventures just waiting to be explored. So let's see if that works. Oh. Perfect. Hopefully it stays there. Alrighty, my story starts on the trail and ends in the schoolyard. And as I mentioned, my focus is on the upper elementary. And I often get asked, how do you connect all this outdoor activity to the QEP? And where's the assessment in all of that? So I thought I would look at putting that all together for one lesson, and maybe talk about how, as Nadia mentioned before, how we have to be flexible and sometimes turn to do something that we hadn't expected. So actually, the plan was to investigate the signs of life in our local forest. Having snowed the night before, our class set out for this morning snowshoe on the Chickadee Trail, which is pretty close by. And the goal was to look for any signs of life, so evidence of animals. So we listened for birds, we looked for browse marks, and soon we came across these tracks that you see here. And the students were pretty quick and wonderful in establishing that, yes, they were indeed fox tracks. So I thought, great, we're all on a roll. Well, as we kept walking along, some other questions started percolating. So some of the students started asking about Do we really need these snowshoes anyways? No, the trail seems pretty hard. Let's see what happens if we go off trail. Does it make a difference? What size snowshoe we use? What happens if we take our snowshoes off? And does the fox really sink in deep snow? Wow, the focus had definitely shifted, and there was some critical thinking and plenty of inquiry going on at that moment. So I decided to take advantage of some of these questions and have a little bit of fun. And we had a race in the deep snow with and without snowshoes. And just a sideboard, whenever we go outside, we always take time to play some games because they're very valuable, and they're also learning experiences. So students were no longer discussing any of those signs of life and not referring to those little pamphlets that we brought out to have a look at. The learning had shifted and the curiosity was being driven by something else. So they kept wondering about the snowshoes. And I thought, well, what if they designed their own snowshoes? There would be this big idea. So we're already working on measurement in area and math and investigating pressure and attraction, or force rather, in science. And wanting to maintain that wonder that the students had, I thought we would start there. So I handed out 1 centimeter grid paper to all the students and I said, okay, let's just trace our boot, start with that. And then we started calculating the area our boot took up. And then that led us into discussing the PSI, or their sink in snow ratio. So students had to do some calculations and learn about some new calculations based on their boot area, their weight, and all that to achieve their goal of being able to float on the snow. So that was all great, but students had some other questions, and that really drove our student investigations into the history of the snowshoe, Indigenous culture and knowledge, and traditional snowshoe designs, and as well as just the art of making a traditional snowshoe. Students were discovering that there are a real variety of snowshoes designed for different types of snow conditions. They started talking about, what kind of construction materials could be made. And then they started bringing in modern snowshoes. So from home, they were bringing those in. And not only that, they were talking to the grandparents about, snowshoes, and they're coming in with some family heirlooms, as well as some amazing stories. So this is really a shared responsibility for learning that was beginning to happen. And that was great. But we still had to go back, take some time to loop back to our initial lesson. And this time, changed it around a little bit so that we're going out to look at weight distribution with animals and their paw prints. So we found some tracks, some snowshoe hare tracks, and then we got to talk about some lynx tracks as well, which are great adaptations, these animals for maneuvering around in the snow. We also, some of the students were mentioning about some of the deer tracks that we found and made that comparison that they didn't really have that flotation. It also led us to discussing the food chain and the predator and prey and the consequences of not being able to run very swiftly on the snow. So the students were really making all those connections, and it was all happening outside. It would have been a lot harder to do all that in class. So just being out there caused a lot of discovery. So with all that background information as the students' toolkit, I asked my class to go ahead and think about creating their own snowshoes. So the goal was to design and build a snowshoe from a material of your choice. Snowshoes have to distribute your weight and be durable enough for you to travel a minimum of 20 meters in deep snow. So students started bringing in all kinds of materials to, start working. There were, plastic, some different plastic containers, sticks from the woods, miscellaneous plastic rods and lids. And we'd come across a stash of some recycled cardboard. And I supplied a lot of duct tape and other kinds of tape, which maybe not so environmental. But students kept all this information in their journal as they were building their different prototypes. And they're really connecting with their learning. So using these toolkits as the students had been building throughout this whole project, their prototypes started coming together. So some designed these snowshoes with these rockers in the front, because they said when they were out walking, their feet kept dragging. So they thought this would be a better idea. Others went back to the indigenous types of snowshoes that they saw, and they really liked sort of the roundness of it. And we'd been out in the fall on a walk, and we came across a dock, and this one student in the lower right-hand corner decided that they needed a flotation device. And so they were thinking about the ballast that would be found in a dock. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So the final project is now, our product was finally completed. So it's time to go back outside again. So we've been going in and out the whole time to test out our snowshoes, but today was the big day. So you can see that there are various snowshoes designs. Some were more questionable than others. And one student there that you can see actually designed a wooden snowshoe. And it's really interesting as this student, their family does a lot of outdoor trips and hikes and whatnot. And she went home and actually found some sticks and put them in water and was bending them and created this beautiful weaving on it. So it's all that to say that the outdoors really has an impact on student learning. Well, we couldn't have asked for a better weather. There was a huge dump of snow. And although it was really cold, it was about -20 degrees, the students are really excited and to take on this challenge. So out we went with snowshoes in tow, and the students strapped on their snowshoes and began testing out. So they had to go in little pods and sort of evaluate each other's progress. So I'd like you to note that all the students in my class really know how to be dressed for the outside. Every year they have to do their own project on what to wear outside. So there's never any discussion as to, where your snow pants are, your mitts are, your hats, they're always ready to be out there. So that's good. So students soon were discovering that some of their snowshoes, their designs work much better than others. And they took some videos, but the video clips were a little too long to show. So some students needed to adjust and repair their designs right on the spot. You could see one person over there, she did not want to let go of it. She just, no, I'm out here, I want to get this done or fixed. And at the end, we always debrief outside. We always start with the circle and sort of talk about what the plan is, what the goal, the objective is. And then we set off and then we come back. So you can see down in the right-hand corner, we're sort of standing in a circle and we're just going over the successes. And a lot of them were having a great deal of fun, just explaining, talking about their failures. So students became, the students were learning outside and engaged with the outdoors this whole time. So it's fantastic. So how does that all come together? So this is the part that a lot of teachers at Cycle 3 sort of ask me, well, where is all that learning? And so we've got the science, we've got the technology, looking at how to create this distribution of force on your snowshoe and then be able to float. The engineering, so defining that problem and going back and trying to come up with those solutions time and time again. The arts, well, the indigenous knowledge was very prevalent in this. We looked at legends, and students started writing some of their own stories. And then finally, of course, the math, which, sort of got us out there with actual measuring of everything. So, the surface area, the ratio, division, multiplication, kilograms, etc. So here we had project-based learning, check, progressions of learning, check, and the evaluation criteria, check. Everything is there. And so that helps me also justify with, colleagues, parents, when they ask, with grade 6 being such an important year in their learning, and they don't want, making sure that I convince parents that we're outside for a purpose. So that's that part. And what is the moral of my story? Well, being outdoors inspires curiosity. For all senses are engaged all the time. Listen to the students. What are they wondering about? That gets back to what, as Sylvie was talking about. So invite that critical thinking. And while outside, permit yourself to let go of the lesson plan, let new discoveries lead the way to something different. And that just brings you outside time and time again. And remember that you don't have to know everything. Share the responsibility of investigating everything that's out there and help the students create this toolkit so that you can step back and you become that facilitator, helping them get there. And get outside as often as possible with your students, because you never know what learning path you will end up taking. And I love this quote. So, well, first of all, we didn't really tackle any environmental problem this time. It really was being outside and being inspired about learning in the outdoors. And rather than read the book or the text of force and pressure in the text, or learn about area in our decimal book, it was a whole new experience for them to have that experiential framework and be outside and put all that together. And the quote, in every walk with nature, one receives far more than he seeks. I just love that, because that pretty much summed up our learning. And I think we have many of the same resources that I know Chris will put in the chat later. And there you go. That's short, pretty short and fast. I felt like I sped through that.
That was amazing.
Let me stop sharing my
way to kind of bring everything together too. The moral of the story is just really cool. I love it. It brings everything that everybody said together. It really nicely woven together. So I want to thank you for that, Kelly. And always seeing evaluation right there in front of you and how it connects to so many subject areas. It's a real mind shift, but it really is possible once you start doing it. You see all the connections right in front of you. So thanks for making us aware of that. It was really cool. Well.